This is it, team.
This is it, team.
This is it, team.
There's a reason why your team is number one.
This is it, team.
Number one.
Number one.
Number one. This is it, team.
This is it, team.
We're number one.
U.S. is number one in growth, and the number one team in the United States is the This Is It team.
We are so excited to be with you all today. This is Renita and
Hey, I'm Scott Brandon.
Coming to you live from the Panhandle, Gulf of America. Excited to be here and super thrilled and honored to host this Doctor Zoom. And we are going to have many of these because there are so many skilled and highly reputable professionals in the LifeWave family. And we want to optimize their credentials and allow them to educate you so that we can serve their highest good as well as serve your highest good, right?
That's right. And when you listen to these doctors today, when you hear them speak, you're going to quickly imagine to yourself what it's going to feel like for you to optimize your wellness, for you to feel better than you have in decades, right? And so you're going to hear from their perspective. You're going to hear their personal opinion on what they've seen and what they've found, why they're so passionate and interested about LifeWave. And we can't wait to welcome our esteemed guest. And we certainly welcome all of you to today's program as well.
Well, we're going to get started because there's so much goodness in today's overview that we have got to get rocking. And I will let you know at the end of the doctor's interview, we are going to have a brief overview of LifeWave and the opportunity. So if you've not seen that yet, make sure you hang out and stick around after this incredible interview. Now, we've got remarkable doctors on board today. We've got Dr. David Jane. He's an MD. We've got Rachel Maurice. She's incredible out of Canada. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Larry Presand, who's actually a vascular surgeon. So for those of you that are wondering, how is this going to affect my vascularity? It's a big deal, you guys.
And then we've got Dr. Karen Vanoy, so doctor of optometry, 29 years of experience. So the combined experience of the professionals on this call today, we are going to be blown out of the water. Really blessed to have everyone a part of today's event. So thank you so much, like I said, to these esteemed doctors, and really thankful that you're all part of it.
Dr. Jeffrey Nelson.
Of course, Dr. Jeffrey Nelson as well. Yeah.
So we're excited. So let's get rocking and rolling because we want them to answer and serve all the questions you guys have. So we're going to start first with Dr. David Jane. Let me get him to unmute here. I see him right there. He's looking good this afternoon. Hey, Dr. David Jane, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
We can. Perfectly.
Perfect.
How are you today?
Great. I'm doing great.
Awesome. We're so honored to have you with us. We're so thankful that Steve and Gina put this doctor's panel together. They organized it so professionally and so lovingly. I love Gina and her organization. So we've got some great questions for you. Are you ready to rock?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're just going to kick things off right away. So, Dr. Jane, in today's world, in today's marketplace, there are so many products, right? We're constantly being inundated with all these different products. From your perspective, what stands out about LifeWave X39 patches?
Well, the LifeWave X39 patch is different than anything else on the market. So there really isn't anything to directly compare it to.
Right.
And the biggest benefit that I see is the innovative technology that David Schmidt came up with. Because we're harnessing our own energy to improve ourselves, which is such a phenomenal concept. I mean, I've been around, red light therapy, laser therapies, everything for 30 years. But those are all external sources. And a lot of them are foreign to us. So when you take something that we emit and reflect it back into us that was just in us, and you get these phenomenal effects, it's truly an innovation that I haven't seen anything come close to in my 30 plus years of practice.
Wow, that is so remarkable. I mean, and you've been a doctor for 30 plus years. You're a family practice doctor, correct? Where are you located?
Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay, amazing. Oh yeah. So the beautiful thing about this is like what you're saying is so true. Red light's been around for a while, right? But
Yep.
there's different modalities to do that. Red light beds, red light panels. And of course, this is the most affordable, simplest to use, right? It's so user friendly. You can take it with you. Nobody
You
can drag
carry it
their
with
red light
you.
bed. Yeah.
You don't have to drag a bed home or buy a bed for your home.
That's right. In fact, we got one of those beds and it was like $30,000 and we had to have a 220 volt, wired into our home. With
Yep.
this, I
Yep.
love how David Schmidt says that we are the energy source, right? With these patches.
Correct. Which comes from the greater source.
There you go.
Amen. Amen.
Right.
I love it. I love it. So your second question we have for you is, so why is it important with this technology of X39 that we wear it 12 hours on and then we take it off for 12 hours? Is it really important that we wear a new patch each day? And I mean, wouldn't it be better if we wore it longer for 24 hours at a time? Or what is your thoughts on that, Dr. David?
Well, everybody is trained more is better. But what you find out with certain drugs, with certain procedures, with certain stimulus to the human body, after a while, the body discounts the stimulus or discounts the drug. So pulsing it, you get a new response, a brand new response after 12 hours off. So you get a full response. The stem cells respond fully instead of saying, oh, we're used to that. Oh, we're used to that. Oh, we're used to that. And I've used peptides for over 10 years, and it's sad, but GHKCU as an injectable peptide was banned 3 years ago. And so this is phenomenal to me because I like GHKCU, and I liked it when I could supplement it, but now I don't have to supplement it. We can get our bodies to make more of it, and when it does, good things happen.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love how you talked about that. We need to pulse things, right? Because if it's just too much stimulation, I think I heard David Schmidt talk about that once. And what was the word that he used? Attenuation.
Yes.
Kind of the body kind of gets a little used to it, sluggish after it's been there a bit.
Right. With drugs, we call it tachyphylaxis. And the drugs, so a lot of times say antihistamines. And if you take a certain antihistamine for 6 months, it stops working. You switch to another antihistamine in the same class, it works. And then 6 months later, you go back to the first one, it'll work again. Wow. So the body frequently discounts a chronic stimulus.
Sure.
It's amazing, Dr. Jane, that you've been, studying and researching phototherapy and light therapy for 30 years and peptides for 10 years. We found that as a part of our team as well. The difference between our body kind of being reminded that it can stimulate these own peptides naturally versus exogenous or externally injecting something into the body.
Right.
So natural, safe, but the body's just innately intelligent, right? And so we know that our own peptides that we're creating are safe and very effective. Yeah.
Yeah, the stem cells know what to do once you wake them up.
Right.
Amen.
Absolutely.
We'd be all clapping for that, right? So what's your personal experience that you've had? Can you share your story with us?
So in November, it'll be 3 years ago. I had a patient walk in, hand me a sleeve of X39 patches and said, I had to use them in my patients and I had to use them myself. And I had no idea what it was. Zero. And I looked at it and I thought, well, that's a sticker. And I really had close to zero expectation. But when I went to the This Is It info site and I read all about it, I read about the studies, the patents, the videos, I came to the conclusion it's just reflecting a bit of energy I just emitted back into me. How could that hurt me? So my logic, and I think out of the box, I do acupuncture, a lot of stuff that other people look at and go, whoa, it's too woo-woo for me. So in any event, I thought the guy just gave me a 30-day supply of the patches. Why not? Right? So I start wearing them and start putting them on. And at the time, I had several serious problems that absolutely affected my sleep. And I'd tried multiple things, been down all the roads standard mainstream medicine has to offer. And I was suffering. And I'd been suffering for a very long time. Probably my sleep hadn't been good for 10 or 15 years. And the fifth night, I slept 7 hours straight of using the patch. And then
I want to say this. I hear you. I hear what you're saying because I had that same thing happen to me, but mine was on the third night.
Right.
But I had tried all the modalities, just like you're talking about, had done
Right.
everything. I mean, I was just doing everything right, and I still was not able to
Right.
sleep. And once you know it, that patch, like on the third night, was like a magic switch for me. So seemingly,
Right. So,
you know, when you're
so I look at
sleeping
the
better,
patch and I
the body
go,
heals.
it's not just a sticker after all. So I thought, well, there really may be something to this. And so at about 3 weeks in, my other problems that had contributed to my sleep problem were about 50% better. And by 6 weeks, 95% better, and have remained that way now for almost 3 years.
Amazing.
And yeah, and it truly has changed my life personally. And I knew that I wanted to become a distributor brand partner when I saw results, because I knew that some of my patients, if not most all of them, would have similar results. And so I've done that, and they have. And so to have something that's drug-free, chemical-free, supplement-free, that gets your body to do something better that it's been doing in the past, why not? And so it's been one of the best things I've ever incorporated into my life as a person and into my practice.
Well, that's absolutely an amazing soundbite right there. I tell you what, Brittany and I both, and on behalf of This Is It team and LifeWave, we want to thank you with all the experience that you have, Dr. Jane, and your wisdom and everything. Thank you for being humble and open to take a look at this. And I heard what you say about, learning about the product. You said, the person that shared it with you directed you to an incredible resource, www.thisisitinfo.com. So instead of trying
Correct.
to, corner you and explain everything that they knew, up until that point about the information, they said, here's a great resource. You're a researcher. You're going to love this professional and entertaining site to go and take a look at this information. And so This Is It Info we found to be a really valuable resource as well. So thank you for being open and humble enough to take a look at this, on behalf of every life that you're impacting in a positive way. So thank you so much.
And I just want to say, hey, we've always said change your mind and change your life, but we're going to say change your sleep and change your life.
Yes. Right. Well, yeah. And not everybody's going to have that swift a response. And I understand that. But when they do, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's striking sometimes. And other issues could improve before sleep. So our bodies determine all that. So I don't want everybody to expect it's going to fix everybody's sleep, but it sure may help with other symptoms that they're having even before sleep. So, but you really don't have anything to lose, because within 30 days, if you don't like it, you can get your money back.
That's right.
That's right. Amen.
Yeah. And I heard you mention that someone gave you the samples
Yes.
of 30 days. And we do have, people on our team, and at times, with our discretion, we'll give out samples, but we love that, as you mentioned, LifeWave has a money back guarantee. So many times we just say, just as you said so eloquently, you have nothing to lose. Let's get started. There's a money back guarantee. Are you ready to change your story? And let's go for it. Yeah.
Well, and I think you guys need to have a conference, and it should be Why Not?
There you go.
A Why Not conference. And that applies to everything.
Gina, are you listening? Why not? Right?
Have a Why Not conference.
Yeah,
yes.
Why not? Why not? Right? Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Well, we were so thankful again. Thank you for being on today. And I'm sure we'll hear and see a lot more of you in the near future, Dr. David. So we appreciate you. God bless you. And thanks for sharing your story. Thanks so much. Woo!
Yep, you're welcome.
So that was number one. Amazing start to this, right?
Oh my God.
We're so excited for the next doctor. It's just going to get more and more exciting as we go here, right? But we love Rachel Maurice. She is a former anesthesiologist. I'm going to let her share her story with that. But she's incredible. She's out of Canada. And so, as you all know, we are available in 80 countries around the world. And Canada being the US's neighbor, it's a great place to build a business. this. This woman is wise. I have spent some time with her and her dear friend Diane, and they are just brilliant beyond measure. So we appreciate you, Rachel, being on today. Can you share a little bit too about how you're a former anesthesiologist?
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. So thank you for everyone for taking the time out of their Saturday to be here as well. And yes, I worked as an anesthesiologist all the way up until went through all of my schooling till 2021. So 20 years. And I walked away in 2021 because of my, I will say, ethics, morality, and wanting to make sure that I had control over my own health and that of my family's. And I didn't think I'd be gone for very long. And I don't sit idle too well. A lot of things that I was being told to do in the hospital setting was the opposite of what I had been doing for the previous 30 years. And so I was doing a lot of digging and uncovering information that not been taught in my conventional medical education. And one of those things I came across was that light is the driver of all of our physiology. So modern medicine focuses on the biochemistry of the body, and it's not to say that that's wrong, but it's very incomplete. And that means that how we can actually use therapies is very incomplete and limited. And so when I came across this idea, I started doing so much digging and research. I know Dr. Jane's been looking at phototherapy or using it for 30 years, but this was my introduction to it. And I just became fascinated with it and dove very deep for a few years. And then I came across these patches in 2024. And so for me, it was not a hard leap to understand that this could actually work because of what I'd just been studying for the previous 3 years.
Wow, I love that story because, it's always been there, right? But it's that old saying, like, you don't know what you don't know. And until you focus on something and look in that direction, you may, never have been utilizing light, like you said. And so I love that just by you being open to it, there's certainly why not? There's an openness that has to happen with people even trying the technology.
And I think it's credible, Rachel, like you said, practicing for 30 years and then an anesthesiologist for 20 years, but something new, right? Something new. And again, this openness that you had to kind of just humble yourself and always kind of be searching for what could benefit your patient, what could benefit people, to have the results that they're looking for, that you were trained and educated to really guide and provide them with. And the other thing that you mentioned that just comes to my mind is how this LifeWave company is attracting professionals like you that have so much integrity, that have just high ethics, so constantly just looking for, how can you benefit your patient, your client, and how can you kind of be on the right path constantly to find products that are going to help people.
Great alignment. I always say alignment is assignment. So I have a question. So if the patch works through the use of light, why can't the sun just do this for us, Dr. Rachel? Why can't we get just these same benefits from the sun that we're getting from the patch?
Right. I love this question because so many people ask it. Quite a few medical professionals have asked that of me. And one of the things I actually start out with is the fact that our modern world, the way humans live today, is very different from how we lived ancestrally. And most of us live over 90% of our lives indoors. So we are not exposed to sunlight. And then when we are exposed to it, we're told to cover with clothing, with sunscreen, with sunglasses, and limit it to maybe 20 minutes a day for that UVB exposure to make vitamin D. So what I often will tell people is if we lived like our ancestors did, under the light for however long from sunrise to sunset, harnessed the darkness, lived in connection with the earth, ate local and seasonal. We didn't have any extra things in our food, water, and air that were going to not make us or not keep us healthy. We might not necessarily need a tool, but the sunlight has a bunch of different spectrums, which we all need. It is our power source, right? And this tool, David Schmidt, is just absolutely brilliant. So he figured out how to harness specific frequencies that we make to signal our body to have an effect. So it's using the patch is using a specific frequency to have a specific effect in the body. So it's different. And sunlight is not necessarily going to increase whatever peptide it is that we're looking at, or energy, or have whatever effect it is we're specifically looking at.
Love that you're mentioning all the different modalities of health. You know, that's very much in alignment with our founder and inventor, right? David Schmidt, when he talks about, you know, this patch adjunctively helping us alongside the other health practices that we have that are all really important, you know? So, you know, you talked a little bit about the different light spectrums in the sun, and you know, how does the patch, from your perspective, you know, differ from like red light panels, red light therapy, that sort of thing?
Yeah, again, another great question that comes up a lot. And the red light panels, specifically when good quality ones, have usually four frequencies, four wavelengths, two in the near infrared wavelength range and two in the red. So there's four frequencies, and those red light and infrared specifically act on specific respiratory proteins in what's called the electron transport chain, which people don't have to understand that, but they specifically act to increase ATP production, if people have heard of that term, as well as water production in the mitochondria, which basically increases energy. It increases the efficiency of the mitochondria, which produces energy. They do many more things than that, but that's what most people understand. So we're increasing energy, increasing ATP, increasing that water production. And these patches, again, like I said earlier, they specifically increase a peptide, the X39, the GHKCU peptide. And so that's not something that a red light panel does. So it is a very different effect. It also increases mitochondrial efficiency as well, but a red light panel does not increase those peptides specifically.
Wow. I mean, so you're talking like with this patch, it is a specific frequency of light that's coming in to really activate that GHK or that copper peptide.
Yes.
And so even though all these other things may be fantastic for us,
Oh,
again,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 3 red light panels in my home, and I use them when I'm not able to expose myself to the natural light as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our home, we built a red light phototherapy bed, and it costs like $40,000, and it's, you know, the size of a dining room table.
Yeah.
You know,
And now
just
we
enormous
moved to the
thing.
panhandle, so we're like, we get red light every day. We don't need that bed anymore. So we just put the patches on because, you know, even with all of the red light and all the sunlight that we were getting, Dr. Rachel, we still weren't getting that copper peptide. So that's why when we put the patch on, it transformed our family's health. Because even though we were doing some of these other things, these modalities that you're talking about, they weren't the patch, right? The patch is so unique and so special.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I mean, that will tie into so many other things that I think, but I've never seen, and I know this is myself personally, in the 30 years I've been in medicine, I've never seen anything like this.
Wow.
So Renita and I, we've our anniversary with LifeWave is coming up June 27th. Well, here, so it's a 4-year anniversary for us. That's today.
Today.
And you know, so personally, we have all these incredible testimonies. Of course, we're a part, as you are, of This Is It team, fastest growing team in LifeWave. So we have all these incredible testimonies, right? So from your perspective, you just said, so medicine for 30 years, anesthesiology for 20 years. Compared to some of the things that you've seen over the course of your career, what are some of the different things that stand out from your perspective, from your opinion, with these LifeWave patches? What are you seeing?
Well, what I want to just share with people, and I'm being I'm humbling myself here because it sounds a little odd and maybe common sense to almost everybody else listening, but we were not taught in medicine that the body heals itself. We were not taught that.
Wow.
And to come to that understanding, that's something that actually came a few years prior. But when I look at my career, and I understand now how modern medicine works, and I'm going to exclude emergency medicine, that's completely different. But when we're looking at how chronic disease is managed, that's exactly what it is. It's managed. It's either we try to stabilize things as much as possible or prevent the decline or help people alleviate some symptoms, but we're never actually healing people. And we're not healing people anyways to begin with because the body heals itself, but we're not allowing people or giving them the support that they need to heal. And with these patches, what I've seen in 2 years, because it's been just over 2 years for myself, I have seen people's symptoms, and this is just my experience, this is not any medical uh, claim, but I've seen people's symptoms be alleviated. They don't have them anymore, and they're not having to use the same medications or supplements that they used to have to use. They're more comfortable. And their quality of life just has improved so significantly to the point where I have not seen this happen in the 30 years that I've been in medicine. And to the point where I know in the back of my mind, and this was a subconscious thing, I wasn't quite aware of this until later on, but because of everything that I saw, and I saw the complications, which is just the nature of intervention, right? And I was in an acute setting in a hospital, in the operating room, in the ICUs. So I saw the complications, and it's the nature of invasive intervention. But in the back of my mind, I knew I had to make sure I was as healthy as I possibly could be because I did not want to end up in a situation that I saw on a regular basis daily and worked within.
It's shocking to me that in medical school, on the journey somewhere, you were not trained or taught or heard God designed the body to heal. Like that's like shocking to me because of course I would think that would be like day one of medical school.
I know. And it was actually Joe Dispenza when I heard his story, and he was explaining how he thought back to chiropractic school where he was thinking and taught the power that made the body heals the body. And I thought, wait, what? I wasn't taught that.
Wow. I love that.
So you were a part of the hospital setting as a part of your career. I can just say, from my perspective, going into a hospital or elderly care unit or something like that, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. And I think sometimes, just realizing that, if we can do something simple to fight back, if it's non-invasive, just as you said, really have nothing to lose. So, it's amazing that you have that perspective as a profession, as your career, but just all of us have had that experience, walking in maybe to visit a family member or a friend, and you're in that environment, and it's a wake-up call. You kind of have this paradigm saying, like, is there something that I could do that's simple, that's affordable, that could make a difference? So, really blessed to be a part of it. So we got one last question for you. We wish we could spend hours with all of you,
yeah,
because, the information that you're giving us is such a benefit. But so your colleague, Dr. Jane, actually also talked a little bit about injections. And he said, the injection of copper peptide. So many of us don't like needles. I know I don't, and not a proponent of the injections. But let me ask you this. If I were taking copper peptide injections already, why would I still want to use the X39 patch?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because there's a lot of attention given to these injections nowadays. And
right.
Just like I was talking about how I wasn't taught the body heals itself, there's something that we do understand in medicine, and maybe we don't necessarily focus on, but there's what's called homeostasis. So the body is always trying to get back to balance. And we have so many things going on in our body. We have at minimum 100,000 reactions taking place every second in every cell of the body, and we have 30 to 50 trillion cells. That requires a lot of coordination and fast and timing. And all of those reactions, we don't know all of them. Medicine, we've only scratched the surface at knowing what's going on. And when we start to incorporate things from outside, what we call exogenous, we take things in from outside of the body, we can cause a lot of imbalances in other areas and other reactions that are going on that we have no idea we are tampering with. And so just like we talk about a basic chemistry reaction, A plus B equals C, and we start adding and flooding the body with C, we're going to start to affect A and B and all of the cofactors and enzymes that, again, are creating lots of imbalances that we have no idea are going to affect the body. So for me, using something natural, the body already knows what it's supposed to do with it. It's not going to make too much of it. It's going to do exactly what it needs to do with its own resources. And I know, and I'm speaking from, you mentioned this and it just made me think of this, Scott, but my entire career was giving drugs. Like my entire career was injecting drugs into people and trying to balance things from an outside perspective. And yes, for surgery and keeping people alive. And that was at the time what I had to do. But it caused a lot of effects in people that I saw, but I also didn't see. And short term, but also long term, that's maybe just not followed up or the research is not necessarily done there. So to me, it is way better to use our own natural resources than to take something in from the outside because we just don't know. There's a wisdom to the body that we will never understand.
I love it. I love it. And, we always say endogenous versus exogenous, right? Exogenous is an outside source coming in, and endogenous is the natural ability to regenerate, restore, and rejuvenate, right? So just kind of tapping into that innate God designed ability that we all have. Wow. Dr. Rachel, you are a blessing, sister. Again, we could listen to you all day. We certainly appreciate you. I'm sure we'll hear more from you in the future, probably at This Is It event coming up here. But thank you so much. Any final words that you'd say to everybody watching that is thinking about wearing this patch? Because we've got a lot of new guests on here today.
I would just say personally, it is the top thing that I do aside from lifestyle, because it's never a replacement for a healthy lifestyle, but it is the top tool. If I were to suggest or recommend one thing, it is the one thing that I would use because our body needs support in this modern world where we have way more stress than we were designed to experience.
Wow. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Have a great day. Wow, you guys, this just gets better and better. We are just amazed listening to the high caliber, the great knowledge of all of these incredible physicians today. We're on to Dr. Larry Present, and this guy is amazing. He has been part of the LifeWave family, I think from early on, but we'll let him share that with us. But he's a vascular surgeon. And so I remember sometimes thinking to myself on the journey with the patches when people would say, hey, Renita, my spider veins seem like they're getting better. Well, I bet Dr. Larry knows why that is, right? And so we are so honored to have you on today. Welcome to this. And tell us a little bit about your journey with LifeWave. I mean, why are you as a vascular surgeon, which is such a powerful position to be as a doctor, why were you even open to this?
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being with you this morning. I finished my surgery training in 1986, and for the past 30 years, I've been devoted towards treating varicose veins. And when I found out about the LifeWave patch, I did a lot of research because I was initially skeptical. But in our practice, we had used phototherapy for a couple of decades, so I was very familiar with it, familiar with the dose response and many aspects of it. But what I wasn't really familiar with was the ability to increase copper peptide and what copper peptide does. And Dr. Laurent Picard has done a tremendous amount of research on the reactivation of collagen production. So when this idea was shared with me by Steve and Gina Merritt, I started using it in my practice and suggesting to patients that increasing the amount of collagen production being deposited in the vein walls would strengthen and thicken the vein walls, making spider veins less visible, strengthening veins to make them less resistant to becoming varicose, and also work on the arteries in the body in order to strengthen them to prevent heart attacks and strokes. So, this is a really fascinating area where we can actually help people without surgery, without drugs. And so I was very, very excited about it. And as I recommended it to patients, I started getting calls from people, lots of calls, blessing me, which was surprising because people were experiencing improvements in their health in many other areas. And so it just motivated me to try to share this with as many people as possible. And I feel like I'm on a mission to try to share this with everyone.
Wow. We call it our miracle inbox.
Yeah.
So we know exactly what you're talking about. Because when we started, when we had those phone calls, text messages, emails, we're like, this is too powerful and too amazing not to share. We've got to tell the others, right?
And you're experiencing, all these benefits, and it's more than just income, it's a mission. I must say it's extremely humbling for both Renita and myself to be on this call to interview, you, Dr. Larry. I mean, obviously such expertise in literally saving lives, and your knowledge on the cardiovascular system and the veins and the arteries, is so profound. Why would medical professionals like you be interested in this opportunity from an income stream standpoint?
Well, nowadays, a lot of medical professionals are employees. And so they're subject to what the corporations dictate. And if they don't toe the line, their jobs could be at risk. And there's a lot of doctors that are looking for an exit strategy. They may not have a pension. If they don't do what Big Pharma wants them to do, they could lose their licenses. So it's become very, very risky. So the job security and financial security aspect are significant. But as I've analyzed and spoken to many medical professionals, what I found is that if you try to flood them with the logic and all the wonderful things that the patch does up front, you're not going to be successful. The way the mind works is decisions are made based on emotion. And you first have to increase the emotional certainty and then use logic to back that up. And I think a great example is with both of you. Renita is absolutely captivating with her enthusiasm. And then Scott backs it up with the logic, So it's a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it is. I love that. And you know what? People are searching for a solution for their finances too. Let's just say it just plainly, because I know so many searching for solutions for health because this is what we do. But like you're saying, I mean, all of these medical professionals, all of these people that maybe are trying to find a plan B or additional revenue, or maybe even climbing out of the system like Dr. Rachel did to something different, right? I think we have to be open to these people. We have to be entertaining these conversations. I love your advice not to get too, analytical on the front end, make it more, you have to emotionally sell them. We got started, and I'm as much as excitable as I am, I do like research. And so when I first started, I'm actually thankful that I didn't know all the research, and I just saw the immediate response with my dad and my mom. It was about on the 11th day, but that increased my belief enough for me to say, okay, what is the mechanism of action? How is this patch working? Right. So it was like, you're right. That emotional, belief came over me where I was like, this is working and I better figure out how. Right. And so I appreciate that so much.
And Dr. Lauren Picard, right? I mean, one of the first books that we read was understanding the GHKC copper peptide. And so as you mentioned, that professional, that was a valuable resource to us as well.
You had a meeting with us in Arizona. Am I right?
Yes.
You were, yeah. And
some
lady was up there talking about how, seemingly her varicose veins and her spider veins had gotten incredibly improved. And we were all like clapping for her. And then I love Dr. Larry. He goes, well, let me just tell you why that's happening. So I always think teamwork makes the dream work. It's powerful that we can utilize one another. We're only as powerful as the weakest person in the room. And guess what? We're all strong. So when you get us all together, it's like we're a superpower of knowledge to bless and serve others. And so we're so grateful for your knowledge that you bring to this team. This is a team, right? Okay, so quick question. What's wrong with just treating symptoms? What's wrong with that mindset?
Well, symptoms really aren't the cause of disease. And we are all conditioned to treating symptoms. You've got a symptom, we've got a pill for that. And, if you look at a lot of the studies that have been done on pills, let's say, If you really read them carefully, they'll put pills on the market, let's say if the study is 70% effective. I've even some go as low as 52% effective. Okay. So, you don't know if you're going to be in that successful portion. So why not try an out-of-the-box therapy like the X39 patch? Okay. Because it's simple, it's affordable, it's transportable, it's concealable. You can wear it every single day, and it's a hit or miss with regular therapy.
Really love, thanks for sharing that, Dr. Larry. I love also that, people in your profession are trained so specifically to notice and diagnose symptoms and then just administer medicine. So in this case, you can talk a little bit more about root cause, and kind of get to, the foundation of wellness and health and optimizing wellness and health through some of our products, right? So, I think it's such an amazing, opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's coming back online though, because I think people are tired of matching the pill to the ill.
That's right.
They're sick of that because then what happens is there's 1 to 3 side effects from every medication you're on. And when you compound that, polypharmacy is real. And I don't think people understand that. They're not studying how these 5 drugs together are interacting with the chemicals, makeup of your body, right? Dr. Larry, so I love something like the patch that's non-invasive. I love how you said it's portable, right? Like we can take it with us wherever we go, and it's so easy to use. And again, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. So if it doesn't work, get your money back. But we can almost guarantee in our experience that it's working on something. Even if you can't see it or feel it yet, something is changing in the body. And so we're so thankful for that. So final question we have, is lifestyle modification necessary for the best results here? Or can we just put a patch on and keep eating fast food and drinking whiskey every night?
Well, from what we've learned, about how the patch works, one of the things that's been published in some of the studies, summarized by Dr. Picard, actually, is upregulation of genes.
Wow.
And our genes switch on, they switch off, and they actually talk to each other. And they're important because they code for the production of proteins in the body. And lifestyle has a very, very big effect on the function of genes. It's called epigenetics. And so if you have a terrible lifestyle, you eat processed foods, you don't exercise, you don't get sunlight, it's going to have a negative effect on the body as a whole. So lifestyle is extremely important. It goes hand in hand, and it's very, very essential to be successful, with any kind of health technology that you have. And the patch has been shown to work much, much better if you drink enough water, if you have a healthy lifestyle, if you get the appropriate supplements that are the building blocks of the proteins that this patch is trying to create. So yes, very, very important.
Can anybody else relate to this? If you're on this call, when you do something simple that seems to benefit you, it makes you want to do other simple things. Yeah. So like, putting this patch on every single morning, right? I mean, it motivates, and you're starting to notice some benefits like I did. It motivates you to drink some more water, to go for that walk, to reach for the healthy, food instead. So really adjunctively and kind of complementing other healthy lifestyle modifications, is wonderful.
Scott's lost 100 pounds, Dr. Larry. So that hasn't been just the patch alone, right? But it was the stimulus. I'll say that. Because prior to that, he was not losing any weight and he was actually trying. And so something with the technology of that patch, maybe it was like you said, resetting of 1/3 of that genes, upregulating what needed to be upregulating and downregulating what needed to be downregulated. But when he put it on, it changed his life. And when he saw some immediate gains, like you said, Scott, it propelled him to want to do more. So you don't have to be perfect out of the gates to wear the patch, but it's interesting how when, like Scott said, you do something healthy for you and you start to feel better, you're like, what else can I do? Right? It's certainly a victory. Well, you are a blessing and we will welcome you at any event wherever we're at, because when Dr. Larry raises his hand, he says, I'm a vascular surgeon. Let me tell you why that's happening. The whole credibility of the room just goes through the roof, and we're just so honored to be partnered with you. So thank you so much. And give your beautiful wife a hug from us.
Thanks, Dr. Larry.
Okay.
Awesome. I love it. We are on to Dr. Karen Vanoy. Like, these doctors, I mean, how many of you guys would like to do this every month? I'd like to do this every month because I love the wisdom that we're learning from all of these amazing health professionals today.
So our next doctor, Dr. Karen Vanoy, 29 years experience as a doctor of optometry. I love the diverse, practice that we have here as well in the medical profession. So, Dr. Karen, welcome. Welcome to this event. Thank you so much for being such a big part of it. We're going to kick things off for you right away with a question, okay? So photobiomodulation. We've heard that, David Schmidt's mentioned that in some of his talks and podcasts. How does photobiomodulation connect to health relating the eyes and eye health?
Well, what is it? What is photobiomodulation?
So it's a wonderful term. Photobiomodulation involves using specific wavelengths of light to stimulate cellular processes, particularly in the mitochondria. And I think Rachel said that earlier about how important the mitochondria are. They're the powerhouse of our cell. And so the eye is one of the most light responsive organs in the body, and the retina is densely packed with mitochondria, making it a naturally receptive to the photobiomodulation signaling. And X39 is using your body's own emitted infrared heat and reflecting that back through that magical crystal lattice there at a specific wavelength in order to cause that photobiomodulation that's enhancing our mitochondria in our bodies.
Wow, that was a great answer. I just know that seemingly in my experience, my eyes have gotten better. And so that may not be for everybody because we don't treat, cure, prevent, or heal any diseases. But in my experience, it happened to me. It happened to my mom. It happened to Scott. So lots of great stories we get to hear every single day, Dr. Karen, with eyes and teeth. So we love that you're here talking about this. And so when we're talking about the GHK copper peptide, the copper peptide that's being activated by X39, what specifically is important about that, like with the aging process and with our eyes?
So GHKCU is a naturally occurring tripeptide, a copper complex found in human plasma, and we see its levels measurably decline as we're aging. So that GHKCU, it acts as a master regulator of gene expression. It's turning on genes involved in tissue repair, antioxidant defense, collagen synthesis that Dr. Prasant mentioned, and cellular communication. So specifically for the eye, the GHKCU's antioxidant actions are super relevant because they're helping with decreasing oxidative stress. And that is a central driver in the mechanisms for cataracts, age-related macular degeneration, and glaucoma. So as that GHK is upregulated in the body, you're upregulating the antioxidant network that is helping to reduce the reactive oxygen species that are causing the aging of our body. And so it's an amazing mechanism that we're seeing with GHK. It's a natural thing. We are supposed to have it, but as we're aging, we're seeing it decrease precipitously. And so that antioxidant network, I know I've heard David Schmidt mention superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione, which is super important in the eye. And all of those antioxidants are upregulated by wearing the X39 patch. And so as that process is happening, we know X39 has been associated with about a 30% increase in glutathione production through that pathway. So that's an amazing part of how it affects the eye, especially for glutathione, because glutathione exists in an unusually high concentration in the lens of the eye. So higher than almost any other tissue in the body. And because what its function is in the lens is its primary defense against oxidative damage. And so it neutralizes the free radicals that would otherwise cloud the lens proteins and initiate cataract formation. So the glutathione, which is enhanced by GHKCU, is helping the nucleus to not age as quickly. And so those levels of glutathione in the nucleus decline with age, and that decline is very directly correlated with the onset of age-related cataracts. So when we think about GHK-Cu elevation through X39, we're helping to restore a youthful glutathione level, and that's directly addressing one of the most well-established root causes for both lens and retinal deterioration. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about cataracts, and I'm thinking about how many elderly people, they just line them up for those cataract surgeries, right? And so what if there was a way that we could increase, like you said, this natural glutathione, and, seemingly the eyes would help to,
exactly.
possibly improve, right? So it's very exciting to think about. Are you just telling all your patients about this? Because your knowledge base of what you're talking about here with the eyes is amazing when I'm listening to you. So I can imagine when you have a tool as simple as this little patch that you are wanting to talk to a lot of your friends, family members, and patients about it.
Well, I love, what Dr. Present said a minute ago about corporate practice. And that is a big issue right now. I was in private practice for myself, where I would have had the latitude to, share this a lot. Now it really is more limited. If patients ask me questions about that, then I can discuss that. And so friends of mine, for sure, if they're friends and patients, then that's great. But for me, this is just, we are definitely limited by corporate setups for what we're allowed to do and how we're allowed to proceed with things. And I definitely would not want to do anything unethical for my company or anything like that. So I have to very much balance how I present things. But for myself, I mean, I'm sharing it with as many friends and family. And the way I was introduced into this technology was actually a patient of mine. She came into my practice and she was saying, well, Karen, I am not needing my distance contact lens anymore because I'm seeing better without it. And so she said, I'm wearing this phototherapy patch, didn't share the technology with me at the moment. And so I typed in her chart, she's wearing this phototherapy patch. And in my mind, I'm thinking, bless her heart, she thinks this is helping her vision. But a few months later, when I ran into her out in just the regular, day-to-day life, because we were friends, she was seeing better as well for her near vision. So her vision continues to improve. I actually, with her permission, not violating any HIPAA laws, she has improved again, and her vision is still continuing to improve. So that's how I was introduced to the technology in the first place, was actually a patient that was seeing better because of what had happened to them personally. So that made me go into the deep dive to figure out, well, how is this even possible? And because initially, as I was not trained to think about, your body healing itself or what's involved in that. We just accept decline as a natural part of what happens to our bodies. And it is, because, none of us are going to live forever. That's just not the way this works. That's not the way God created this setup. But it's amazing to see how we can live well and live better lives by allowing our body to have what it needs to actually function at a much higher level, because of the fact that we live in such a toxic environment and everything is an insult against us, from the food we eat and the exposures that we're seeing in our environment. We want to do everything we can to live well, because I want to live a long time, but I don't want to live a long time if I'm in poor health and not having good quality of life. So I think that's for most people.
Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Karen, I got to admit, one of the common themes that we have, you're a fourth speaker on this panel, is kind of this humbleness, to take a look at something, especially in your case, taking a look at, something from your patient, who you're the expert and they're the patient, but they saw some results and you must have established a relationship where they could be open with you. And so that speaks to, who you are as well. But, as a professional in the medical community, having that humbleness, having strong integrity, having ethics, and finding a way to still follow, of course, all the guidelines of your profession, but sharing it with people on a personal level or family, you found a way to do that. Another thing that I heard you mention that I want to make sure that people didn't miss, and this really goes along with This Is It team and Steve Agina Mera talking about the X39 patch and being really kind of laser focused on that one individual patch. I heard you say, glutathione production from your experience is being elevated. Of course, LifeWave has a glutathione patch, right? But Our patents prove that the X39 can elevate GHKCU copper peptides. And what I heard you say is then that peptide is supporting and elevating the glutathione, that antioxidant that is so instrumental to eye health, right? So we can be confident in staying kind of singular and focused on that one patch. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the main thing with this technology is that X39 has become the flagship. It is what David Schmidt probably saw multiple things in multiple patches that he could include all in one by elevating the GHKCU, because GHKCU is such a master at doing what it does. So again, as people get involved with the company, there's no way we're not going to wear other patches. But as far as just getting people started, don't make it so hard. X39 is so wonderful at doing what it's supposed to do. And again, glutathione restoration is one of the most important mechanisms for vision improvements, because glutathione restoration, the lens itself depends on glutathione more than any tissue, almost any tissue in the body, for maintaining its optical transparency. So boosting the glutathione through GHKCU upregulation, that is how X39 supports the body's own antioxidant structure. And that includes not just the lens, but in the retina, because the retina is the photoreceptors and the retinal pigment epithelial cells. Those are all involved in our vision, and we need those cells to be functioning at optimal levels. And so glutathione is helping, and GHKCU is helping to produce that increase in glutathione production. It's amazing.
So if you ever wanted to know what mechanism, why are my eyes seemingly improving? She just told you, right? Yeah. Because we've had it. When he started, he had some floater thingies, and he noticed after wearing the patch for probably 6 weeks, he's like, not seeing all that stuff on the eyes anymore. Right. Like I said, we've saw really amazing results with my mom, with her eyes. Her doctor was quite astounded, actually. So we love that. We like to shock our doctors, right, guys? And so when they see those results, they're like, okay, I better take a look at what you're telling me. So we do appreciate your humility.
People ask me I've only been patching for 10 months. And so my eyes may still improve as I'm going. I'm 55 years old, so I still need help with reading. But the problem is also not everyone ages at the same rate. So people are not going to respond at the same rate. I don't see people getting cataracts at exactly the same age in my practice. I have people in their 40s getting cataracts. I have people like my dad, who was in his 80s before he needed cataract surgery. So we all age differently. So we all respond differently. And that's important for us to note, that no one is going to respond exactly like another person with this technology, because our body is in control of what needs to be fixed first. Again, the stem cells know where they're supposed to go once that happens. And the priorities that we will see with the stem cell reactivation, our body's in control of where those go first.
I love it. And that's why we tell people we can't confirm your exact results that you're going to have, but let me know what changes, because we know it's going to be positive, right? So we say that a lot, because there's like, what's it going to do for me? Well, we can't make any medical claims, but you tell me what happens, because it's going to be big. So Dr. Karen, you're a blessing. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom today. Wow. We just thoroughly enjoyed why I feel like I can see better. I'm seeing the light, baby. So we appreciate you. We'll see you again soon. Our final fifth speaker for the day, amazing, Dr. Jeffrey Nelson. He's amazing. His medical specialty is reproductive endocrinology and infertility. Now, this is going to be a big deal for a lot of people, but we have some people on our team that they are big into having babies in their 40s. And so they're going to really thoroughly love your section here as we talk about infertility and reproductive health and all of that. So can you please, first of all, just give us a brief background of who you are, your medical training, and how you got, here right now?
I would love to. First of all, just greetings, everybody, and happy Saturday, and congratulations for people coming on to spend time with us. And good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. I think, Rachel, it's still morning there. And I also wanted to thank you guys for inviting me to participate in this panel with these magnificent colleagues of mine. both in the medical world, but also in the LifeWave world as well too. And so I am a 68-year-old retired physician, and I'm kind of near where you guys are. I am in Southeast Florida, near West Palm Beach. My wife and I moved here back in June of 2024. My wife is Priscilla. You ever meet her? She loves to be called PJ. But we moved here in 2024. That was about 6 months after I retired. I retired December 31st of 2023. We still do though have 3 adult kids in Pasadena. Garrett's 34, Emily's 26, Cole, our middle kid, is 29. And so if there's any believers out there, put us on your prayer list, because I'm hoping that they're going to at some point in time make a decision to move here to South Florida as well. So we'll see how that goes. But
We'll do it.
after medical school, I did a residency in obstetrics and gynecology, and I followed that up with doing a subspecialty fellowship in reproductive endocrinology and infertility. So like you said, I'm a fertility doctor. But after my fellowship, I went from Philadelphia to Pasadena, California, joined a couple of guys in practice, and we called ourselves HRC Fertility. But I'm very proud of the fact that over 31 years of being there, before I retired, we gradually grew from a 3-man practice to being one of the larger fertility centers in the country. And I'd like to think hopefully highly respected. But it was very rewarding and very fulfilling, really helping people that are having difficulty with fertility all around the country, but also all around the world. But it was a stressful thing too. And so, I was doing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week call, and I'd go to work at 6 a.m., get home at 6 p.m. And at some point in time, that was enough. And it was time to to close that chapter and just pursue other adventures. And one of those adventures is partnering with LifeWave. So really super happy to be part of this.
I love that. And I love, I'm praying for the kids to come there, because I'm all about the family unit over here. So I
Exactly.
appreciate that. Come on. We have a lot of fun together. So it sounds like your wife is a true joy. I love it.
She
And
is.
so how were you first introduced to LifeWave? Was it you or was it her? Or how did you find out about this technology?
We've always kind of been involved in sort of the health and wellness space, even when I was in practice. And we were introduced to LifeWave back in October of 2024. And it was really just seeing some random Facebook posts. And I mean, I really just kind of, like a lot of people, I was very skeptical, even kind of the point of being beyond skeptical to being dismissive of it. I was in 40 years of medicine, with my training, with my expertise. It just didn't make any sense that such a small device would have such profound effects on so many people for so many different things. And so I just disregarded it. And I kind of say that I sort of fell prey to an affliction that I think we have as Western people in the healthcare profession, that I think people call ignorance from arrogance. We see something that we're exposed to that we don't understand and is foreign to us. And then rather than be open and try to research it, because it's new, we just sort of disregard it and push it aside and kind of move on. And so I was absolutely guilty of that. But luckily, we had a friend who also was on Facebook, and he's a guy that we turn to for nutrition advice, for health and wellness, for workouts, and also, but for supplement stuff. And so he was wearing the patch. And so we thought, you know what, maybe we need to have an open mind and talk to Casey. And we did, and we liked what we heard. We started trying the patch. We started trying it back in November of 2024. And a really big deal for me was I had heart surgery back in 2015. And I did find, interestingly enough, it was the same heart surgery my father had at the same age I did. And unfortunately, he passed away on the operating table. So it was a big deal. I got through that and did find, but what I was left with was a little bit of a cardiac dysrhythmia. I had an irregular heartbeat that was persistent. And it wasn't something that was life-threatening, but it was kind of disconcerting, thinking that something wasn't just quite perfect inside. And I saw David Schmidt do a YouTube presentation, and I think he was in the middle of a study, but he kind of wanted to break in because he was seeing an interesting outcome. And he saw that after being on the patch for 6 weeks, he was seeing a reduction he was seeing an improvement in a reduction in cardiac age by 2 years after 6 weeks on the patch. And so I thought, I'm probably not going to feel anything because it's inside as my heart, but it's not hurting me. There's nothing going into my system. There's no contraindication. So why would I not want to try that? And within 6 weeks, my heart rate went back to completely normal again. And it's really amazing to me because I know last night I was kind of laying in bed and thinking about this. And when you're in bed at night and it's quiet, you can really feel your heartbeat. And that irregularity was always there. Priscilla would hear it because she puts her head on my chest at night, but we never talked about it, you know. And so, but now it's just so nice to have that be gone. So the patch, there's at least a correlation with wearing the patch and something with the conduction system in my heart. That's incredible. And the other thing is that I had kind of chronic aching in my hands, and being in Florida now, I like to fish, and it wasn't like debilitating, but it was annoying. And that within about 2 months, that disappeared as well. And the very final thing for me was that I had really severe gastric reflux, and I was on medication for that really for 15 years. And I tried to get off of that. And it was, you know, within 2 days, I had to go back on because it was so miserable. And God bless Priscilla. She would get all these over-the-counter remedies and mix all these things up, and nothing really benefited. But after being on the patch a year, I thought, you know, let me try it again. I was kind of afraid to stop because I was afraid to fail again. And so, but I went off the patch, and that's been now almost 8 months ago. And maybe I've had a couple of Tums here and there, but that's been gone. And when I talked to my gastroenterologist, he really had nothing for me. You know, it's just that's just sort of what you're going to do. And so those are kind of the breakthroughs that I had, which has really unbelievably improved the quality of life. Priscilla wasn't sleeping well. Now she sleeps through the night. A son with asthma was frequently using rescue inhaler. Now he's done with that. He uses it maybe once a month, and his acne's disappeared. So really, I just have nothing but great things to say about the effects of the plant in my family.
And I would say seemingly for all of those great testimonies you just heard, seemingly, right? And again, you know, we can't speak for everybody that's watching today because individual results are going to vary. But we just are so honored that you're sharing your story, your specific family story and your journey, because it's powerful. You know, you don't know who's listening today, who's been praying for something that you just mentioned, right? So what if there was a possibility, and what if that could come alongside and support some of those ailments and things that they have going on to help to start to see some improvement?
Yeah,
it's exciting.
And in a matter of minutes, you know, I heard you share some profound benefits, you know, Dr. Nelson, that you experienced, that Priscilla, PJ, you know, experienced, that your family members experienced. You also shared some information that kind of turned on a paradigm from you that you heard from David Schmidt, also someone that you know, looked up to in terms of receiving advice from, you know, different modalities of health and wellness. But was there something that ultimately was the cause of you and PJ taking a look at this and really starting to promote LifeWave as an opportunity and a product?
Yeah, but Priscilla and I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. And we really wanted to have a home-based business that we could do together. And we actually started doing some of those things while I was still in practice. Because also, kind of like Larry had said, we just really felt the financial security by having multiple income streams, because you just never know, right? And so, but also we wanted something that we could continue into retirement. Because you know, I mean, I like to fish, but I don't want to fish 24 hours a day. And so I still wanted to be useful. I wanted to be productive. And we really wanted to have a sense of fulfillment and purpose, which is genuinely really only achieved by serving other people. And so that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to have a business that we could do that. And people always talk about the common things people wish, pray, hope, and dream for, which is their physical health and their financial health. So we wanted a business model that would meet both of those needs. And so just looking at, you know, LifeWave with the technology, with the business, I mean, the technology to me in the field of health and wellness, I've not seen anything ever like this. And it fits, it sounds kind of corny, but it fits all the adjectives that you hear about groundbreaking and transformative and revolutionary, paradigm shifting, and life changing. I mean, it really is all that stuff, because the non-invasive support that allows, you know, supports your body to do what it was designed to do, which is to heal itself, which has been brought up a bunch of times today too. And I never even heard that until I was on a rotation. An orthopedic surgeon said to me, "Do you realize the body doesn't heal itself?" And it's like, oh, I never, and that's pretty obvious, but I never thought of that before. And so anyway, the technology is groundbreaking. And I love the fact that it also is working foundationally. You talked about symptoms. This is working foundationally at the cellular level. And that's an amazing thing. And so, and business-wise, I've never seen anything like this business model. We have such a minimal investment. And the final thing is just community-wise, everybody wants, craves community, but you need to have it be a healthy community. You need to have the right people you're being discipled by. And I love the LifeWave family, because everybody's dedicated to bettering themselves and to serving other people. And so because of the tech, because of the business, because of the community, we're just all in, and we love working with LifeWave.
Wow. And we love working with you.
Right.
You're such a blessing. Wow. That is just I mean, you know what I love? I can tell that you just adore your family. And we're kind of
I
those
do.
family, like we're generations of health and generations of wealth, how David Schmidt talks of. And so that's really like a purpose for us, right? We want our family to be healthy together and to have adventure and create wealth and serve others and bless others together because the family's a unit. You know, I always say we travel as a pack. So I love that you're bringing your wife along for the journey. Honestly, I feel like marriages, I'm not making any claims here, but I feel like when you start working LifeWave as a couple, the marriage gets better. I'm just saying. Okay.
I agree.
We've noticed it.
Yep.
You're probably noticing
So
it.
far, so far, so good.
It's so far so good. It's something
It does.
fun
It gives you this amazing sense of purpose, and it's fantastic.
together.
Yeah.
Focused energy. I love that. Okay. Any final questions we have for him? So we know that you're all in. We can tell. We can feel it. We can hear it. Let's go back to the technology just for one more second. Why do you have the confidence in this LifeWave technology? I mean, why foundationally? You just said you learned from an orthopedic that said, hey, the body's designed to heal itself. And that was the first you heard of that. But how can you come here and with certainty say, I have confidence in this LifeWave technology, this patch?
Well, this is kind of a rabbit hole, so I hope you'll indulge me in that. And so I do believe strongly in the power of the X39, really because the abundant amount of clinical evidence that's out there to support it. But we need to be able, as life care brand partners and healthcare practitioners, be able to take that confidence and somehow translate that to other people so they better understand what's going on. And we live in a super, super skeptical world. And so I mean, I spent the better part of 43 years of my life immersed in the Western medicine paradigm. So my sphere of influence really involves a lot of similar people: doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, chiropractors, acupuncturists. And when it comes to skepticism, most people have a little bit. You know, you introduce this kind of weird device to them, and they're a little bit kind of wondering what's going on. But with healthcare practitioners, I mean, the skepticism is kind of on the hyper side. And so, but they're kind of like me, like I say, I came at this from that ignorance of arrogance stuff, and it took me a while to really be able to sort through that. And so, because those are the people that I deal with a lot, I'm not sure if there's a lot of healthcare people on this call, but hopefully this will address them, but also everybody. But I thought of what's the most effective way to approach people in general, but also people in the healthcare industry to try to somehow diffuse their skepticism. And I thought you need to frame it and use the language that they understand. And to me, that comes through kind of clinical study analogs, things that they're familiar with. And so here's my rabbit hole. But first of all, is that we're built on a super solid scientific foundation because of the brilliance of David Schmidt. I mean, obviously, he created this wearable patch that stimulates, uses a specific wavelength of light, like Rachel had said, stimulates the skin to produce copper peptide. And we know that because he proved it, because he does have a double-blind placebo-controlled trial that shows that peptide will elevate when the patch is used, and that's patented. So we know that's the case. But the real big question is that, does the proven elevation of copper peptide cause the beneficial clinical effects that were predicted by Lauren Picard's research? Does the elevation of that peptide because of the patch really result in the beneficial effects we would expect because of research on copper peptide elevation? And so that's kind of where my healthcare partner friends come in. They kind of have a little bugaboo and say, the problem with you guys is you have no clinical trials. You guys just have testimonies. So I wanted to take a look at testimonies and show the power of testimonies and compare that to what as healthcare people we look at as real world clinical studies. So what's a real world clinical study? In my practice, because we were just a very big practice, we kind of encouraged ourselves to publish a lot. So we were always putting together studies, the docs, the embryologists, and we would try to present at all of our major meetings around the country and internationally. And so we just did a lot of that. And so what is a kind of a real world study? It's not double-blind placebo-controlled stuff because not many things really lend itself to that design. And so the problem there too is that those things really need to be well funded because they're expensive. And the greater cost to something, the greater risk of bias, because what tends to happen is a result gets tailored to the person, to the agenda of the person who's putting up the money. And so most studies aren't like that. The majority of things that we would do kind of fall into three categories, which are case reports, case studies, retrospective chart analyses, and things we call prospectively designed studies. And so I want to looking at those study types, what analogies do we have in LifeWave to give people confidence in what they have? And so with the whole case report thing, we just would look at a single patient. There's some interesting thing going on. We thought it was worthy of reporting that. Not much power because it's one person, it's anecdotal, but still there's some interest there. And so LifeWave, we have that analogy, which is our single client testimonies. So testimonies are powerful and they're interesting and they're worth reporting, but it's similar to what we would do as medical folks. So it correlates. The second thing is the whole retrospective chart analysis, chart review thing. We would just review charts, a series of patients looking for something that might pop up that was of interest, that we were mining for things that we could then go ahead and publish. It's a little more powerful because there's more people. And so the analogy we have with LifeWave is we can accumulate a bunch of client testimonies, which is clinical information on similar issues with similar outcomes. And that then becomes, are basically analogous to that retrospective chart review thing. The final thing is, and this is really kind of neat, is that the nice thing was to do prospectively designed studies where we would prospectively determine a treatment, let's say, we would subject people to that, a series of patients, collect the data, analyze it, make up conclusions. And this is the most powerful of all those three. But in LifeWave, we've been kind of lacking that particular thing. But now they're starting to surface because I've been kind of looking for some of these things. And I've gotten 3 examples I'd like to share really quickly. But this is where the whole disclaimer thing comes in, that the patch does not heal you, that the patch supports your body's ability to heal itself naturally the way it was designed. You might see a temporal correlation with patch use and outcome, but correlations do not equate to causation. So I'm just going to say the patch does not heal you. And so there were 3 studies. One was an orthopedic surgeon who's in Northeast Florida, and he does hip surgeries. And because of his introduction to one of our brand partners who had hip surgery with him and recovered within 2 weeks of his surgery, the doc said, "That's pretty crazy. How did you do that?" And he showed him. And the doctor did not want to prescribe the patch, but he referred patients. He referred 69. And of all 69, and his usual recovery time is 8 to 16 weeks. And with these 69 people, they all recovered within 2 to 4 weeks. And again, correlation is not causation.
Right.
There's a gastroenterologist out there who he's done colonoscopies on 19 people, and he's documented, I won't say that, but he's seen ulcerations and inflammation within the intestinal mucosa. Put people on a patch afterwards. I think it was 3 to 4 weeks, rescoped everybody, and the words he used were everybody's colons looked pristine. So that's a pretty big deal. And there's a oculofacial plastic surgeon. Now he's very public, which is great. He's in the Tampa area, and he's got some kind of facial thing that he does that's unique, and a lot of people come to him from around the world. But he had a very elaborate set of postoperative recovery things that he would do with, I think, hyperbaric chambers, all kinds of stuff. And so he was introduced to the patch, and now he's replaced those things with using the X39. And he shows a whole bunch of before and after pictures with utilization of the patch. And so now so really summary wise, LifeWave testimonies are powerful, and they're analogous to all the other things that we did as healthcare practitioners to look at data. And so we shouldn't poo-poo testimonies. They're very powerful, all those different case types. And so the hope with all that I just kind of went through is that I wanted to kind of frame our evidence of testimonies in a way that diffuses some of the skepticism, in particular because of our colleagues out there in the healthcare world, but also hopefully makes everybody else confident in what it is they have in their hands. But a key takeaway to me with all this is that there just is unbelievable power in testimonies. Testimonies are evidence, and there's abundance of evidence. That evidence is continually accumulating, and it's continuing to grow. And so the very final thing I'm going to say is the good news here is that all that stuff I just talked about, nobody has to know any of that. Nobody has to remember any of that. They just need to know that when you put a patch on somebody, that is a possibility of changing their life. There is nothing more powerful to me to optimize your health and to prevent disease, because again, the patch just supports your body's ability to heal the way it was designed and to heal naturally. And so I just recommend everybody out there just be a consumer of testimonies. Gives you great confidence in what we have in our hands and that everybody needs to have access to. So
wow.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I loved all of that. And I love that, like, you've dug deep and you found those 3 cases. And I just think, like, there's patterns that are happening here, right? I've always said to Scott, not this many people can get together and lie. Like, I mean, none of these people know each other, right?
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
getting together and there's patterns of great things that we're seeing. And so why not talk about it, right? It's a great thing.
Yeah.
And I also believe the most brilliant people on the planet are not the ones that learned something 50 years ago and held their ground and they're still talking about it. I feel like the most brilliant people are learning new things, learning innovation, like the phototherapy patch, gaining that knowledge, and then making different decisions because of it. Like,
Yeah.
those are the brightest people on the planet, right? And so, wow, you are a blessing, Dr. Jeff Nelson. I could listen to you all day. I love
That's
everything
sweet.
you
Thank
said.
you.
You're
Okay, thank you.
amazing.
Thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. And, people just need to hear that because there are those healthcare practitioners, like you said, you said it best. What is it? Arrogance.
Ignorance
From
from arrogance. And I can say that because that was me.
Yeah.
And this whole thing with LifeWave has led me down a whole different path, which has been very fascinating. But you really have to be willing to be open and, kind of take in information that you never thought you were going to hear before. And so, no, it's a wonderful journey.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of when we're out there, really looking to share and be the light, so to speak, with LifeWave is we're looking for people who are open, right? Whether that would be our medical professionals, whether it be the family members that we're trying to love and serve and help, whether it be friends or coworkers. We're looking for people that are still willing to search for things that are going to benefit each other, right? Not people that say, I've learned everything that there is to know about the human body. There's nothing that you can teach me, And so I love the humbleness and the openness that is the common theme between all of you incredibly wise and experienced medical professionals on the call. Totally blessed by your involvement in today's meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jeff. Thank you, Dr. David. Thank you, Dr. Rachel, Dr. Larry, Dr. Karen. You guys are amazing. And this was our very first doctors meeting. We so appreciate all of your knowledge, all of your wisdom, all of your passion for people. We just think the very best is yet to come. And we know that together we can accomplish so much, can't we? Together we can do more to serve and bless and bring light to the planet that so desperately needs it. And we just, there's all of us on here right now. And I just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, and I know that everybody watching, this is going to be so widely viewed because what you're bringing to the table is so powerful. I see the hands raising in the chat there because what you're bringing to the table is credibility, validity, and certainty. And this is what so many people that are just the lay people that are out there, these patients that are talking to you to share it with you, it's giving them the courage to go do it again, right? So we're so thankful that you guys came together today as a team. You guys are like the Avengers, like the good Avengers, like the good guys, right? And helping the world to be the light and share the light. So thanks again.